In the heart of a forest reserve in Colorado, there was a small wildlife rehabilitation center that cared for species rescued from poaching and trafficking. Among the quietest residents lived Willow, a young bobcat with piercing eyes and graceful steps. She had been found 2 years earlier, still a cub, alone on a back road. No one knew what had happened to her mother, but Willow had survived. Strong, curious, sweet in her own way, and now, pregnant. Everyone at the center adored Willow. There was something about her, a calmness that soothed even the most stressed-out caretakers. But that week, something changed. She stopped walking at first. Her steps were hesitant. Then she refused to leave the den. In just a few days, Willow was completely still, lying in the corner of the shelter, her eyes fixed on nothing. Her swollen belly looked larger than normal, much larger. The volunteers grew concerned, but the center's director, Heather, downplayed it. It's normal. She's in the last weeks. She's just conserving energy for labor. But there was something unsettling about her stillness. Willow wasn't eating, wasn't drinking, didn't respond to touch. Even the other bobcats, even the wildest ones, seemed uneasy near her, as if they could sense something was wrong. That's when Chloe, a veterinary student interning at the center, decided to act, while everyone else ignored the signs. She snapped a photo of Willow and posted it online with a simple caption, "This doesn't look like a normal pregnancy. Can someone help me understand what's happening here?" She didn't know it yet, but that post would change everything, and it would save more lives than she ever imagined. The knock came at 7:12 a.m. Maya was in the supply room, restocking medication kits, when the front gate buzzer echoed through the center's intercom system. Normally, visitors weren't allowed at that hour, but when she peeked through the window, she saw 2 people standing by the gate, one in a khaki wildlife uniform, the other with a DSLR camera slung over his shoulder. The man in uniform introduced himself as Dr. Colin Reyes, a wildlife vet from Boulder, and the woman beside him as Ava Martinez, an independent journalist specializing in animal welfare investigations. "We received a few messages," Ava said, her voice calm but firm. "We're here to check on a bobcat named Willow." Maya's heart leaped. She glanced at the receptionist, who was already dialing the director's office. Within minutes, Dr. Halvorsen stormed into the lobby, eyes narrow. "This is private property," he barked. "You can't just show up and demand access." "We're not demanding," Dr. Reyes said evenly. "We're offering assistance. If the animal is fine, we'll leave. No harm done." But Halvorsen's jaw clenched. "We have a staff vet. The bobcat is under observation. Now please leave." The tension in the air was thick. Willow was still lying motionless in her enclosure. Maya had checked on her that morning. No movement, no response. And now, the smell of urine and stale fur was beginning to linger in the air. She stepped forward. Her voice shook, but she held firm. "She hasn't eaten in 5 days, Maya said. "She hasn't moved. I don't think she's in labor. I think she's in distress." Dr. Halvorsen shot her a furious look, but it was too late. Ava lifted her phone and began filming, narrating everything calmly. "This is the Mountain Light Wildlife Center. We're here after a viral video raised concerns about the health of a pregnant bobcat named Willow. The staff refuses to let an outside vet examine her." Outside, a small group had gathered, people who had seen the video and driven out. One man held a sign, "Don't let Willow die in silence." By noon, there were nearly 30 people outside the gate. The local sheriff's department received multiple calls. Eventually, they arrived and requested a voluntary inspection for public safety. Faced with growing pressure and the presence of media, Halvorsen reluctantly gave in. "You have 10 minutes, he said to Dr. Reyes, "and no filming inside." Dr. Reyes didn't respond. He just grabbed his medical bag and followed Maya into the enclosure wing. What he saw made him stop in his tracks. Willow lay in the exact same position Maya had described. Her breathing was shallow, her ribs slightly visible beneath her flanks, her water dish untouched. "She's not in labor," he murmured, kneeling beside her. He pressed his stethoscope to her side, then gently palpated her belly. His face darkened. "She needs an ultrasound. Now." The machine beeped softly as Dr. Reyes applied the cold gel to the ultrasound probe. Willow didn't flinch. Maya watched silently from the corner, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. The room was too quiet, no growls, no shifting, not even the soft huffing sounds bobcats made when they were uncomfortable. Willow was beyond that now. She was still, too still. Dr. Reyes slid the probe gently over Willow's distended abdomen, his eyes locked on the monitor. At first there was only static, gray swirls that meant nothing, then something. But it wasn't a heartbeat, and it wasn't movement. He adjusted the angle, pressed a little deeper. Still nothing. Maya stepped closer, peering over his shoulder. She's not pregnant," he said quietly. Maya's breath caught. What Dr. Reyes didn't answer right away. He kept scanning, moving the probe lower, then to the side, his brow furrowed deeper with every pass. Finally, he pulled the probe away and wiped it clean. "There's no fetus," he said. "No signs of labor, no heartbeat, no placental tissue. Nothing that indicates a pregnancy at all." "But then what's causing the swelling?" Maya asked. He looked at her grimly. "There's a mass large, possibly a blockage. It could be an intestinal obstruction, could be a tumor, could be both." Maya felt her knees weaken. "She's been lying there for days with that thing inside her, longer than that." "Most likely," he replied. "But now it's pressing against vital organs. If we don't relieve the pressure soon." He didn't finish the sentence. Maya swallowed hard, trying to push down the rising panic. "I can help you prep for surgery," she offered. Dr. Reyes hesitated. "We're not equipped here. I need a sterile room, proper lighting, full anesthesia setup. I'll need to move her." "You'll never get approval for that," Maya said. "Halvorsen won't let you take her off-site." Dr. Reyes stood up and faced her. "Then we go over him." He turned to his assistant and asked her to bring the portable oxygen tank and a stabilizing injection to keep Willow's vitals from crashing. Maya moved quickly, gathering supplies as if in a trance. From the hallway, they heard Dr. Halvorsen's voice echoing, angry, sharp. He knew what was happening, and he wasn't going to make it easy. The hallway door burst open with a sharp bang. Dr. Halvorsen stormed in, his face flushed with fury. "What do you think you're doing?" Dr. Reyes didn't flinch. He calmly turned to face him. "She's not pregnant. She has a massive internal obstruction. If we don't act now, she dies," Halvorsen scoffed. "You don't know that. You're making assumptions based on a single scan. I'm making an emergency medical judgment based on vital signs, physical symptoms, and a complete lack of fetal development." Reyes replied, voice firm. "She's septic and you've done nothing." Maya could feel her heart pounding in her throat. She'd never seen a vet confront a director like that before. Halvorsen narrowed his eyes. "You don't have authorization to move an animal. You do that, and you're done here." Reyes didn't look away. "Then fire me after, but I'm not letting her die in a cage." The silence that followed was electric. Halvorsen stepped forward, but Reyes had already turned away. "Maya, prep the gurney. Get her secured. We're taking her out." Maya didn't hesitate. She rushed toward the supply closet for the emergency transport harness. The assistant brought in the oxygen tank, and they moved quickly, knowing the window was closing. Outside, word had spread. A small group of supporters, people who had seen Maya's post, had begun gathering near the gates, holding signs and snapping photos. A few reporters stood by with cameras ready, whispering into microphones. One had a drone hovering above the center. Halvorsen noticed. His jaw tightened. "This is a rescue center, not a media circus," he shouted toward the hallway. Dr. Reyes didn't bother responding. He gently adjusted the oxygen mask over Willow's nose and murmured to her softly, "Just hold on, girl, we've got you." As they wheeled her out of the medical room and toward the side entrance, Maya noticed something strange. Willow's eyes were open just slightly, and for the first time in days, they looked back, tired, clouded but aware. It was enough to make Maya speed up her steps. When they reached the van, Halvorsen tried once more to block the door. "You're risking everything for a dying animal," he hissed. Reyes met his glare. "No, I'm risking everything to save one." And then the door slammed shut behind them. The van sped through the winding roads of the Colorado hills, headlights piercing through the fading light. Dr. Reyes sat beside Willow's stretcher in the back, monitoring her vitals while Maya drove, her hands trembling slightly on the wheel. She's stable for now, Reyes murmured, but her breathing is too shallow. We need to get her into surgery within the hour. Maya didn't answer. She was too focused, weaving through traffic with quiet urgency. Her phone buzzed nonstop from the console, lighting up with missed calls and messages. The video had now surpassed 2 million views. Comments flooded in from all over the country. Some were from wildlife experts offering support. Others were from strangers simply saying, "Don't give up." At the clinic, Reyes's team was already waiting. Vet techs held the doors open as Maya reversed the van into the private lot. The moment they entered the sterile white hallway, the atmosphere shifted. Calm, controlled, serious, they moved Willow into a surgical suite lit by overhead lamps, machines humming softly around them. Reyes turned to Maya. "I need you in here. You've seen her condition up close. I trust your instincts." Maya swallowed hard and nodded. She scrubbed in, heart racing. They worked in silence for the first 10 minutes. Reyes made the initial incision along Willow's abdomen, eyes locked on the monitor showing her vitals. But what he found stopped him cold. A thick, dark mass pressed against Willow's stomach lining, dense, unmoving. Not tissue, not fluid. "Blockage," he said tightly. For an edge he carefully reached inside and began to extract what looked like clumps of twisted plastic, pieces of synthetic material, fruit packaging, maybe wrapped tight and layered like a net. It had been slowly strangling her digestive tract from the inside out. Maya gasped. How long could that have been in there? "Long enough," Reyes answered grimly. "And it should have been caught weeks ago." They kept working, removing the blockage, flushing the area, treating the early signs of infection. Sweat dripped from their foreheads, but neither slowed down. After nearly 3 hours, Reyes finally stitched the last layer closed. "She's not out of the woods," he warned, "but she's got a chance now." Maya looked at Willow, still, silent, breathing shallow but alive. And for the first time, she felt the shift, not just in the room but in the world beyond those walls. This wasn't just about Willow anymore. It was about all the others who were never given a chance. By the next morning, Willow was resting in a quiet, dim recovery suite at the back of the clinic. She was sedated, her breathing slow but even. Monitors beeped gently at her side. An IV dripped fluids into her fragile frame. Her fur had been cleaned, her sides shaved and stitched. The angry swelling in her belly had softened. Maya barely slept. She sat by the window of the observation room, sipping coffee that had long gone cold, eyes never leaving the monitor that displayed Willow's stats. "You did good," Reyes said softly when he stepped in with a chart. "She made it through the night." Maya exhaled for the first time in hours. But outside, the real storm was brewing. The video of Willow had now surpassed 4 million views. Major animal welfare organizations had reposted it. Celebrities tweeted about it. A petition demanding a full investigation into Mountain Light Wildlife Center had gathered over 250,000 signatures in 24 hours. News vans were now parked outside the clinic gates. Maya's phone was ringing constantly, interview requests, offers to help, messages from people who'd visited the center and now wanted to share their own stories. One of them hit her hardest. A former volunteer wrote, "We warned them. I told Dr. Halvorsen a year ago that something was wrong with the foxes. One disappeared overnight. He said I was being dramatic. Thank you for speaking up." That message stayed with her all day. Reyes came in mid-afternoon with more news. The Department of Wildlife is opening a formal investigation into the center. They're sending inspectors tomorrow. Maya looked up. "Will they shut it down?" "They might," Reyes said. "If they find what we suspect." Back at the center, chaos had begun to unravel. Halvorsen had released a brief statement calling the accusations exaggerated and accusing Maya of causing unnecessary panic. But no one was buying it. More staff began speaking out. A former caretaker posted a thread online detailing months of neglected animals and falsified medical logs. Photos leaked of sickly raccoons, injured birds left untreated, even cages with mold and feces. And still Willow slept unaware that she had become the face of something much bigger, a symbol of neglect and survival. That evening Maya stood by the glass, watching the bobcat's chest rise and fall, soft, steady. She's a fighter, Reyes said behind her. She shouldn't have had to be, Maya whispered. And that's when she made a decision. This wouldn't end with Willow's recovery. She was going to make sure no other animal ever had to suffer in silence again. The inspectors arrived at dawn. 2 government SUVs pulled into the Mountain Light Wildlife Center, tires crunching over gravel still wet from an overnight drizzle. A 3rd car followed, unmarked, someone from the local DA's office. Halvorsen stood at the main gate, arms crossed, jaw tight. The press wasn't far behind, flashes already firing before the officials had stepped out. By mid-morning, every enclosure was under review. Records were pulled, storage units unlocked, medical logs requested. One by one, the investigators walked to the facility with notepads and clipboards, silence broken only by the sound of snapping photos and murmured observations. Maya wasn't allowed on site, but she didn't need to be. The stories were already pouring out online. Former interns, ex-volunteers, even one of the caretakers still employed there posted anonymously. We were told to lie. Told to cover things up. I'm sorry. I was scared of losing my job. Maya read each one in disbelief. She had known things were bad, but not this bad. She sat with Willow, whose condition was finally beginning to stabilize. The swelling had gone down. She'd eaten soft food for the first time. Her vitals were improving. And for the first time in weeks, Willow purred. It wasn't loud, barely more than a vibration. But Maya heard it, felt it. It brought tears to her eyes. Later that afternoon, Reyes entered with a laptop tucked under one arm. You need to see this, he said, placing it on the table and hitting play. It was footage from one of the staff break rooms. An employee had leaked it. Halvorsen was on screen, pacing. If one more intern tries to play hero, I swear. I'm not losing this place because of some bleeding heart with a phone. Someone off-screen muttered something. Halvorsen snapped back. She's a damn animal, not a person. They don't feel the way people think they do. Reyes paused the video. Maya sat still. That's who was in charge, he said. Maya didn't answer. Her eyes drifted back to Willow, now curled into herself, eyes half closed, resting. But something had shifted in Maya too. The fight was no longer about proving a point. It was about justice. Justice for Willow, and for every silent creature who had suffered behind those gates. That evening, under a fading orange sky, the news broke. The Mountain Light Wildlife Center was officially under investigation, not just for negligence, but for falsifying medical records and mishandling endangered species. Local networks ran the story every hour. National outlets began circling. Maya's inbox exploded. People wanted interviews, statements, updates, but she stayed quiet. Because inside the clinic, something bigger was happening. Willow wasn't just healing, she was responding. Reyes had managed to bring in an external vet team specializing in wildlife obstetrics. They worked in silence, careful not to startle the Bobcat, who now blinked slowly and shifted slightly when spoken to. Her belly still distended, moved faintly but rhythmically. It's not obstruction anymore, said one of the vets. There's something else. Maya's heart pounded. Could it really be? The ultrasound probe confirmed it. A heartbeat. Then another. Twins. Everyone in the room went silent. The vet looked at Maya. She's still pregnant somehow. They're alive, but time was critical. The stress, the weight loss, the internal pressure. Willow was holding on, but just barely. They needed to intervene fast or risk losing her and the cubs. Maya didn't hesitate. Do whatever it takes. I'll sign anything. Just save them. The operation was scheduled for sunrise. Maya didn't sleep. She sat beside Willow all night, whispering softly, tears streaking her cheeks. You're not alone anymore. You did everything you could. And in those quiet hours, something else happened. One of the junior staff members, someone Maya barely knew, approached with shaking hands. I saw what they did. I saw the medication swaps, the delays. I have it recorded, she said, voice trembling. But I didn't know who to tell. I was scared. Maya reached out and held her hand. Now you do. The girl passed Maya a flash drive. It was everything. Call logs, edited charts, forged approvals, evidence that pointed not just to negligence, but to willful abuse of authority and endangerment of protected wildlife. Halvorsen hadn't just failed. He'd lied systematically, repeatedly, as the sun threatened to rise behind the mountains. Maya stood outside the clinic holding the drive like a weapon made of light. Tomorrow Willow would go into surgery, and tonight the truth was finally ready to roar. The morning air was sharp and cold as the surgical team assembled. The mountains were still cloaked in mist, and the world felt strangely quiet, like it knew something sacred was about to happen. Inside the clinic the lights were dimmed, the temperature carefully regulated. Every surface had been scrubbed, every instrument laid out with precision. Willow lay sedated on the operating table, her chest rising and falling in slow, controlled breaths. Two veterinarians stood on either side of her, ready. Maya, suited in sterile gear, stood near the head of the table, one gloved hand lightly resting against Willow's ear. "You made it," she whispered. "Now let us bring them into the world." The team worked quickly but gently. Every incision, every motion was deliberate. They had one chance to save 3 lives, no room for error. One vet monitored Willow's vitals while the other carefully exposed the uterus. Tension built in the room. Maya didn't move, then movement. Tiny, frantic kicking from inside. "They're alive," the surgeon confirmed, smiling behind her mask. Within minutes, the first cub emerged, small, slick, squirming. A cry escaped Maya's lips before she caught herself. The second followed soon after, slightly smaller but just as lively. Both were quickly cleaned and wrapped in warm cloths, their tiny bodies rising and falling with life. "They're strong," one of the techs said in awe. Against all odds, Maya leaned over to look at them, tears blurring her vision. "You're home," she whispered. Meanwhile, Willow remained stable. The team cleaned her up, sutured the incision, and monitored her recovery. Everything had gone better than they dared hope. Outside, a crowd had gathered, quiet, reverent. Protesters, volunteers, even former employees. Someone had set up a portable speaker, and soft music drifted through the trees. When Reyes stepped out to deliver the news, a hush fell over the people. "She made it," he said simply. All 3 of them did. A cheer broke through the silence, followed by applause, followed by tears. Inside, Maya finally allowed herself to sit down, shoulders shaking, hands trembling with exhaustion and relief. They had done it. Willow, the silent survivor, had given life twice, and for the first time in weeks, the center no longer felt like a place of secrecy and fear. It felt like hope. The days that followed were slow, quiet, and sacred. Willow remained under careful watch, her strength returning little by little. At first, she couldn't lift her head. Then came the flick of an ear, the twitch of a paw. By the 3rd day, she stood shakily but proud. Her cubs, now nicknamed Ash and Juniper by the staff, stayed nestled in an incubator nearby, warm and safe. Maya spent every free moment beside them, logging their progress, whispering encouragement, holding her breath each time they whimpered. But they were fighters, just like their mother. Word of the emergency operation and its miraculous outcome spread fast. Local news covered the story. Animal welfare groups praised the center for correcting course, but behind closed doors, things were far more complicated. An official investigation was launched. The director, Dr. Halvorsen, stepped down quietly within a week, citing personal reasons. Reyes was appointed interim lead. Changes swept through the center, protocols rewritten. Enclosures expanded. Medical supplies doubled. Most importantly, silence was no longer tolerated. "Maya taught us all a lesson," Reyes said during a staff meeting. "We don't just care for animals, we fight for them." Back in the recovery room, Willow was finally reunited with her cubs. Maya placed them beside her, heart pounding. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Willow stretched her neck forward and gently nuzzled them both. Maya broke down. Weeks passed. Willow grew stronger. Ash and Juniper opened their eyes, took their first steps, and like their mother, learned the rhythm of the forest in their bones. A new outdoor enclosure was built just for them, spacious, shaded, alive with trees and running water. Maya watched from a bench as the small family explored their new home. Every pounce, every tumble of the cubs felt like a tiny rebellion against everything they had survived. Eventually, the world moved on. But for those who had witnessed it, who had fought for it, nothing would be the same. One life had sparked thousands to speak up, and because of that, Willow got to live, Ash and Juniper got to grow, and Maya, once an intern, now a hero in the eyes of many, learned that sometimes the smallest voice can change the course of everything. All it takes is one person who refuses to look away, and a wild heart that refuses to give up. If Willow's story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us share more stories that matter. And if you think someone else should see this, share it too. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.